not only teaches you, to come out of your shell, as you've said, but it also teaches empathy. You're literally putting yourself in someone else's shoes when you act. You learn how to, you learn discipline. You learn how to act in a group, work as a team. You know how to, you learn all these different skills that you never thought you could do. It's amazing.
Oh man,
Oh!
Erica.
Is that good? No.
Risti, Italiano, obviously.
Italian. Are you Italian, Erica?
Yes, on both sides
Nice.
of my family.
Oh, so you're like
Nice.
legit Italian.
Well, no, I'm legit, Steve. You're
Not
not
like
legit.
Derek. He's like Sicilian, so it's not. I don't.
I
count.
mean, yeah, my last
Legit
name is
Italian.
Smith, but
Nah.
my last name is Smith, but witness protection.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He ratted out everybody.
Everybody,
That's
everyone's
what-
gone.
So, but yeah, my Italian heritage is from like Naples, I think. That's where my grandma was from, and then my other.
Very, very common.
Well, it's coming for a reason. It's the best. It's the best.
Oh, okay.
The best. That's why.
Yeah.
So we can kick it off. Erica, you got a new EP out called Me Okay? Is that correct?
Yes, the band that
Me
I'm
Okay.
in, I play keys for the band AIM, led by Joshua Larrabee, who's also in the duo This Body Is All I Have in This World. Our EP came out a couple months ago, like right around the end times.
You know, the before time.
Before, what is it? BP? Before
BP,
pandemic?
Before the pandemic.
No, before oh, BC. Before coronavirus.
BC, before coronavirus.
It all works. It all works.
So yeah, the EP is on Spotify. I think it's on YouTube. It's on SoundCloud, either
Actually,
SoundCloud or Bandcamp.
Canceled my Spotify subscription because I had YouTube Red, and YouTube has its own music thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm feeling
that literally shatters my heart because you were the one to get me into Spotify like 10 years ago.
That's true. But trying to cut costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That extra money. But no, I listened to it on YouTube Red. And what was that? Is there a song called
King of Spades?
King of Spades.
Yes. King of Spades.
That song is freaking sweet. The horns.
I was gonna say that too. The horn section, the horn part's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like a lyricless chorus or something.
Yeah. What is that? Is that
very cool?
What do you call that? A pre-chorus, or is that like a mini?
I would say pre-chorus, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wow.
We're thinking of the same section.
Yeah.
Vocals are really interesting too, and I was kind of like wondering where you drew inspiration for like your vocal style.
I did not do vocals for.
Oh,
anything.
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask you whose vocals that were. Okay.
Holy crap! I thought you were saying.
Okay.
No, it's.
Well,
we
apparently didn't do our research, so that's our fault.
No, Emma.
I'm surprised you didn't sing because you're a really good vocalist. How come you didn't sing on it?
Because we have a lead singer and she's fantastic, Emma Roca. She's been abroad for the past few months studying, but then the coronavirus hit. So I think she's back. But yes, she did all the lead vocals for the EP. I did keys. You got Lawrence Sleva on sax.
Oh, sweet.
Sorry?
No, I said, oh, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Lawrence Sleva on sax, Josh Larrabee obviously on the drums, and I feel like a jerk because I forget the violinist's last name. His name is Paul, and he's wonderful. Paul Simeon. Okay. There we go. Paul Simeon. Nice. Yep.
Oh, so have you guys played live at all, or is this just like a studio thing, like a project?
We want to play live. Sorry, I neglected to leave out Alex Hamza on guitar and Hiran Bhattacharya on bass, and I believe Glockenspiel on one of the tracks.
Glockenspiel, okay.
Very nice. But yeah, we wanted to play live, but just everything that's happening right now, it just didn't really work out.
It's a bummer.
Also, a bunch of us have different schedules going on.
Yeah, with the number of people you just named, I was already thinking like, how do they get a schedule going with those how many people?
Wishful thinking and the aligning of the cosmos.
Nice.
So yeah, we wanted to play live, but for now, I guess it's mostly studio stuff. I think Josh and Hiren just recently did some kind of stream thing. We're going to. I forget the date. Hashtag ADHD problems.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
But for now, it's mostly all just studio stuff. I don't know what is in store next. I know Josh often, we have a group message in Facebook, and Josh often sends us, music ideas that he has, and it's always really nice to listen to what he's brewing up.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, he wrote all the songs on Me Okay. That's like all.
Wow.
AIM is like basically his brainchild. We're helping his music come to life, and it's a lot of fun. These are some of the most talented people that I know, and I'm really lucky to be in their company.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the EP is really cohesive. I love all the instrumentation on it. It was very good. I listened to it on Spotify, so I was happy to see it on there because I'm a big Spotify fan.
The artwork,
is actually
really,
go ahead, Steve. Go.
The artwork I noticed is actually really cool too.
The artwork was very cool. The little sad little TV boy is kind of, I guess, our mascot.
Oh, cool.
He's kind of become, I feel like he's going to become synonymous with AIM because, he's on our EP, he's on our page.
Oh, no way. That's kind of like us in this logo here. It's like, it was a cover of one of our albums, but now it's just becoming one of our logo now for everything.
I like it. It's very galactic.
Yeah, it's like this chick. She, I don't know if you.
I can't even see her.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cover of one of our albums. We kind of morphed it, kind of like you guys, and now it's become like a logo in a sense. So it's just pretty cool. You know what I mean? It's hard to get logos, so it's like if it works, might as well jump on it. Truths.
So you, Erica, you play a multitude of instruments. I saw you play guitar. I saw you play accordion.
Yes.
You said you play keys too in the band. So you're like a jack of all trades. Any other instruments you play?
Yes. Well, piano was my very first instrument. I started when I was 6, and then I just picked up a bunch along the way. So piano, I started saxophone when I was in the 5th grade because 5th grade, you got to pick an instrument if you want to do band.
Yeah, that's what I did. Saxophone,
and I was the only girl in my section, and I kind of took a little bit of pride of that. Basically, I was Lisa Simpson as a kid.
Oh, no way.
Very bookish saxophone playing kid.
That's so cool.
So piano, saxophone. I started guitar when I was 13. I picked up the ukulele, the mandolin in middle school and high school. The accordion I started when I was 14, my freshman year of high school. So piano, guitar, saxophone, mallet percussion, ukulele, mallet percussion. I forgot. I played mallet percussion when I was in middle school and high school for the jazz bands. I was the vibraphone player. So
that's such a cool instrument. The thing it spins to get the tremolo effect. It's got a motor attached to it. The vibe.
Yeah.
I like that.
I wasn't finished.
My apologies. Yeah, I was just a cliff note on there.
Well, keep in mind, we interrupt more than anybody in history, so don't take offense.
Okay.
We do a lot of sub notes and stuff like that. But continue.
So piano, guitar, saxophone, mallet percussion, ukulele, mandolin, accordion, melodica, kalimba, penny whistle, fife, and I'm currently trying to learn the Celtic harp.
The Celtic harp.
Yes, that was my birthday present last year.
Oh, nice.
Because
awesome. So all you need to do is pick up the bass, and you'll have a whole band by yourself.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't know how to play drum kit.
You could learn. We'll get a set.
Maybe,
It's an expensive endeavor, but
it is, and it's also very loud, and I want my neighbors to not hate me.
I was gonna say that one way to make your neighbors hate you is just get a drum set, and they will they're not gonna like it.
Electric drums, maybe the ones that are soft and fun. I guess the pads or whatever.
Right.
My
But
downstairs neighbor actually has an electric drum set and a keyboard that he messes around with. But like, it's bad enough I have an accordion and a saxophone. Like, those are two they have the potential to be incredibly loud. Like, you can play them
yeah,
softly, but it's not the same. You gotta not half-ass it when playing either of those instruments, or any
Right.
instrument really.
I was actually really excited that I was on mute during that like thing we were part of, because when you pulled the accordion out, I was like, "Oh shit!" out loud, and I was like, "Oh crap, am I on mute?" Oh yeah, I'm on mute. Thank God.
Yeah, no, that was I did intend to make that a surprise. No one.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing. I picked it up once and I was just like, "What am I doing?" So it seems difficult. Is it difficult to pick up, or is it one of those things that you just felt comfortable with as soon as, because you play keyboard, you started with that. I don't know if there's any like easy transition to accordion.
Well, at least on the right hand, yeah, especially with a piano accordion, which is what I have. So right hand sort of stays the same. You're just, playing it on vertically. But with the left hand, it's all like a series of buttons that provide the bass and the chord of whatever you're playing. And it is rather difficult to pick up. I will say I taught myself because, like, I don't have any money to spend on accordion lessons, and who in Peabody plays the accordion? So yeah, it is a kind of difficult instrument to pick up, but entirely worth it because the accordion needs to make a resurgence. Button accordions, I've seen I think they're also called Russian accordions. They're intense. They're just buttons on both sides, and they boggle my mind. I've
Mm.
never could understand it.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you said that you picked up the first thing you did was piano at 6, because I think that was the exact same age that I picked up the piano, because it was my first instrument as well.
Yeah.
My mother's a piano teacher, so I was just kind of force fed piano. But she always was like, "Oh, let me teach you how to read," and I was like, "Listen, Mom, the Beatles don't read, so I'm not going to read." And she's like, "Whatever, buddy." And then later on, now
Rock and roll.
33, and yeah, I was like, I wish I could kind of read. That would have been good.
Yeah.
But
No, my dad could never read music. I get all of my musical ability comes from my dad's side of the family because my dad plays guitar. He's actually in a Kenny Chesney tribute band. So he plays guitar. One of my uncles plays bass. Another one played drums. My great grandfather played the mandolin. So, and my
nice.
dad never learned how to read music. He never had any like formal lessons, but a friend of the family gave me piano lessons, and he actually lives in Winthrop, where I am now.
That's cool. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is sort of a strange statement that I'm going to make, because it's obviously opinion, but I feel like a lot of people who don't read have more soul, maybe because when they're playing, because it's a feel. Because I know, like, I told my dad at one point, I was like, I don't want to bring a piano or a keyboard on stage. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I'd rather stand up and sing and play guitar. And my dad's a bass player. He was like, I can buy you a guitar. So he bought me like a cheap Squire electric guitar. And I just taught myself chords. And I feel like if I had learned how to read right off the bat, maybe I would have been a different type of musician. So I don't know. I don't know what if there's a strange difference, but I know a lot of classical players, they play like very specific to the book, and there's not a lot of feel to. I mean, there is feel, but like I feel like somebody who's just making things up can, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you are. And as a classically trained person, um, I will say that I do, with the thing with like playing music on a sheet, you do have to go by the book because the composer has specific markings that
Mm.
they want you to do, and there's little to no room for expression. But and and I also act, so that's kind of translated into how I interpret a script, because like whenever I read a script, it's like, okay, it says I have to do this here and then that here. But I'm not sure if I agree with that, honestly, because music is all about, no matter if you're classically trained or not, music is all about feeling. It is art. It comes from within. It comes from your heart. your own interpretation. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I sound like I'm doing
No, of course.
lofty ass.
And that was sort of, yeah, and that was sort of my point too. Like I said, it's a feel. It's certain
Yeah.
musicians just have different feels than others. And it's funny. My next question was the theater, because come from a theater background as well.
Nice.
I love musical theater. It's like I'm like an addict when it comes to like Stephen Sondheim and things like that. But I was going to ask you that. When did you get into it at a young age?
Kind of. I remember being in the 8th grade. Well, before that, I would go see my sister, who went to Peabody High School. I would see her in the Stage 1 productions. The very first show I remember seeing was when they put on Man of La Mancha in 2006. That was the first Stage 1 show I went to. By 2008, when they had done The Sound of Music, I remember seeing it, turning to my mom and saying, I want to do that when I get to the high school. So I did. I really got into it, freshman year, around that age. And I loved it. I loved doing Stage 1. But, I kept taking music classes because like that was there first, but I still love theater. And that is in fact what I went to school for. And but it wasn't my intention. I had auditioned for UMass Amherst's music department, but they didn't let me in. But they admitted me as a theater major. I learned so much within that program. I don't think I'd change anything. It's really, really helpful having a theater background as well, because you're introduced to not only so many different aspects of the art and the business, but you meet so many people. And especially in Boston, the theater community is very, very, very small. You're at least 1 to 2 degrees of separation away from someone. And I'm sorry, what was your original question?
Oh no, just about getting into theater. Like when
I got into theater, and it led me to studying theater in college, which led me to doing freelance tech work once I got out of college and was looking for a job and money. And it led me also to the job I've been working for the past 3 years as an actor and historical interpreter.
That's really, really cool. I saw some pictures of you doing that. That's what I mean. I wasn't stalking you, but I have to do that before I get any guest on, so I have some idea of what to talk about. But because I go to Salem a lot, and I love when I go to any of the witch houses, and there's people acting and portraying different things from the past. I'm like, I wish I could do this. This is the coolest job.
It is a very, very fun job, and I miss it a lot. We're all not sure when we're gonna come back because Corona, and also people. But it's a lot of fun. And if you told me 5 years ago that I would be working in history and donning 18th century garb, I would have laughed in your face and said, I know nothing about history. But I love it, to the point where I really want to make my own colonial kit to wear to other outside historical events, because in Massachusetts and in the New England area in general, there are a lot of historical reenactments, and a lot of people do show up in full kit. In fact, the historical interpreter community and the theater community kind of overlap here, especially in Massachusetts. I'm not sure about anywhere else. It's probably the same, but I do not know. But I can say here, a lot of my coworkers do come from theater backgrounds, and they know theater people, and the whole everything just sort of branches out.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm kind of glad you had mentioned that the music and the theater kind of meshed together, because I've never actually said this out loud, but I've always thought of it, and that is reading a script and memorizing lines, knowing lines. Like I remember, the only time I could really remember lines is if I remembered my blocking. So when I moved somewhere, I'm like, oh yeah, I see this right here. And for some reason that translated into music, because at this point we have so many songs we play live. Sometimes you have to do 3 hours worth of music, and I'm like, how do I remember all these lyrics? And I can't. I have to improvise most of the time, but I'll stop playing and then they just come out of me without even thinking. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like I have to get in a certain stance and I stand a certain way, and then all of a sudden all the words start coming to me. And it's like, that's kind of like how it was in theater for me.
Yeah, it's all muscle memory, and especially if you are a musician, um, it may help. For instance, I do tend to think of things in terms of music because that is how my brain do. Um, so whenever I'm learning a new script, or if I am have to move a certain way, it all has to do with, the tempo of the words, the dynamic of the words, um, the inflections of the words, the speed in which you move. Literally anything can be translated into music. So
Yeah.
music and theater and performing live as you do with your band, it's all intertwined. And there is a theatrical aspect to performing with a band, especially if you are a front person.
Right. Yeah, I used to get really stressed about it, and that's actually why I don't perform solo. I have a lot of solo material, and I just can't bring myself to get up there by myself because at least if you make a mistake in a band, you can look to your guy on the left and just kind of smile and be like, "Oops," and it kind of feels like it's a family. When you're by yourself, you can't look to anybody. It's just like I screwed up, and here I am by myself.
Yeah, you gotta like rely on your own charisma, because
Yeah.
sometimes when like stuff like that happens, you just kind of gotta roll with it. Maybe make a self-deprecating joke. People love self-deprecatory humor for some reason.
Agreed. That's so weird. That's very strange, but it's true.
Yeah, but it's you gotta that's something you gotta like laugh it off and just keep going. Lord knows I've made a lot of mistakes while performing live on stage, and you just gotta roll with it. 90 like chances are no one's gonna know if you made a mistake, even if it's super tiny.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Steve's actually really good at improv. I wish he had pursued it.
Oh,
Steve.
really?
Steve, we can't hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
hear
Say
me?
that again.
Um, no, I was saying I still improvise with music, especially, but that's my main thing. But I did a brief stint with it in high school. We did more of like it was like a whose line is it anyway kind of more like a comedic improvisation. It was kind of hard.
Like
Uh,
party games.
what's that?
Like improv like the games that they would play as improv exercise, like Party
Yeah,
Quirks or Scene
yeah.
from a Hat, like stuff like that.
Exactly. We did a show at a church in front of a big, it was a decent crowd. And I had this girl behind me. She was my hands, so
Yes.
she would mess with me the whole time and like touch my face. And like, I had to pretend like I meant to do that.
Yeah, oh, I love that game.
Yeah, I was with a friend of mine, Tomas, and he had a girl behind him too, the same thing. So it was pretty funny. I enjoyed it. It was, if I had a little more practice, I probably would have stuck with it. But it was just kind of like my friends were in it, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. But I didn't really do too much with drama. But I do appreciate. Derek has got me into musicals and that kind of stuff. So I do have a appreciation for it.
Good.
Yeah.
Drama whole thing.
I,
Acting is
I,
acting,
yeah,
movies, plays. It's all. I like it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I wish that like there was a specific class in high school that you had to take. I know some people take drama, but like theater broke open my shell. So I feel like I could do it for everybody. I remember one of the first theater classes I took in college. Our professor, she was actually in Law and Order at one point, and she was like somebody who'd
Really.
been around. Yeah, Ava Geffen. She was really really cool, and she would like be like, I want everyone to get up and walk around and do something really ridiculous. And she like walked around like a duck with this crazy face, and it was so uncomfortable to watch. And we had to go do it too. And my sister was in theater, so I already looked up to her and wanted to do it. So I went up there and did it too. And I was like, I feel like I'm coming out like who I really am to everybody. I'm like this crazy, goofy kind of guy, and it like helped me in life. Like seriously, like I would tell people like do drama because it helps you like open up to people and like converse and socialize and networking, of course.
Theater helps people more than they know. It not only teaches you, to come out of your shell, as you've said, but it also teaches empathy. You're literally putting yourself in someone else's shoes when you act. You learn how to you learn discipline. You learn how to act in a group, work as a team. You know how to you learn all these different skills that you never thought you could do. It's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, even with theater and music, I noticed that sometimes less is more, and that was something that I learned big time because when I first started acting, I thought you had to be big, you had to be like Al Pacino all the time, and people were
Hmm.
like, "All right, Derek, calm down," and so I had to learn that. less is more too. The little subtle things are really funny and really good. And then I translated it into music, and I was like, maybe sometimes not playing something says more than playing it, and things like that. So, especially in our band, the Cosmic Vultures, I play acoustic rhythm. Sometimes I overplay or something, and someone's like, maybe don't play, and then I don't, and it just sounds better. And so you have to learn those little things. And I got that from theater for sure.
Yeah, no, the note that I've always heard throughout my entire theater career is you can always pull back. So if say you're acting a part and you do it a little too big, your director can always tell you, okay, pull it back a little bit. It's easier to pull back than to push. And the same definitely can be said for music. Less is more. There is a beauty to simplicity. There is music in rest. That's why rests are included in music. You don't always need constant sound. You can have little breaks between your music.
Exactly. And I don't know if you do you like jazz, Erica?
I do, yes.
Like Miles Davis, I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
He would his playing style really reflects that with simplicity and playing. Like he'll just he'll like kind of build a note slowly, just like one note in his play. That obviously he does those more frantic styles too, but on a certain albums he'll really be simplistic about it. Stick with 1-2 notes, a lot of rests, like you just said. To include, because like it's the rest is actually it's kind of like a note in and of itself. It's just it is a part of the music. Rest kind of it makes these notes work better, as if there was no rest to begin with. So
it's as important as a note.
For sure. Yeah, that's such a cool concept too. It's like you wouldn't even think that right away, like rest, that's not a note, but it's super.
Or even like even the for instance, like Pink Floyd, I'm a big fan. Dave Gilmour's guitar playing is less most of the time. He's usually playing a couple of notes, and he bends them and he makes the notes become something else, and it's amazing. And even my wife's a big fan of Nirvana, and she showed me the song that he did like live on MTV. And I think it's the last song of the MTV Unplugged. And he takes this breath, and everyone goes crazy over it because he stops and breathes. And it's a big moment, and there's no music there. It's just him, breathing. It's like, it's an emotion with it, and it's amazing,
It's an organic and human moment. And while you were talking about David Gilmour and his style, the first thing that came into my mind was his opening solo for Coming Back to Life off of the Division Bell.
Yep.
A lot of very, very simple things. Like, of course, he has like a few little runs in there, but it's mostly just long held out notes. And then the song kicks in.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't like, or this word gets like a negative connotation, but like droning, like a drone in a song is like, people are like, oh, it drones too much. But sometimes that's really cool. Like when something just can't keeps kind of coming at you a little bit, and it's kind of repetitive. I like that a lot, rather than a lot of crazy guitars and crazy stuff. But
Eric, when you mentioned when you said that with Nirvana, the breath in between songs, that reminded me of a class. Like when you listen to classical music, you can hear the conductor or even the musician flip pages in between songs.
Yeah.
And that's so impactful when it sounds like it belongs there. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys have experienced that too.
No, I have. Typically in classical recordings, you hear an audience member cough. But you can always sometimes you can sometimes even hear the conductor breathing in when they're cueing the orchestra, like, I believe that's the case. If I'm correct, I believe that's the case on, you can hear someone breathing in on a recording of the orchestral rendition of La Valse d'Amélie by Jan Tiersen off of the Amélie soundtrack.
You have to send us a link.
And I'm guessing it's probably the conductor cueing in the orchestra for the next measure.
Oh, those things are so cool, because it's these extra things beyond the music that become music in and of itself. It's so cool to think about that. And it's like when you learn music theory, you learn the fundamentals. Obviously, you learn the vocabulary, you learn how to get around the instrument, all that good stuff. But you don't necessarily learn those extra things, like the breath. When you hear the conductor breathing, or when you hear the page flip, to me that's just as integral as some of the notes these musicians play. Yeah.
You're listening to it, and you're like that middle part was great, and that page flip just got me.
Compliments to the page turner for
Page,
whoever, whichever classical musician is playing.
It's like the
But-
bonus things in music, I guess.
Sorry?
It's like the bonus, the little bonus things you hear in music,
Yeah, it's it's a nice reminder to let you know that, hey, people are performing this music live.
Right.
It's nice. Music is such just an inherently human art form. And even as it continues to evolve with the times and the technology, so too many people I hear like, today's music's not real music because it's produced by machines, but it's still entirely valid. People program those sounds, people put in those beats, people compose these beats and these melodies. So yeah, it is real music. I mean, it might not be to you because it doesn't have, quote unquote traditional instruments, guitars and bass and whatnot, but it's still entirely valid.
It's just
Yeah.
it's a tool humans use to create art, and that's like, you could argue a grand piano is a form of machinery. You've got levers, hammers hammering down. It's a primitive machine back in this back in 1700s, whatever. You could argue back then maybe that was considered a type of machinery, to which.
Yeah, it's definitely traditional now, I mean, of course, but like even people are like, hey, listen, music now is awful. And I can, when it comes to pop music, I mean, my opinion is probably on the same level, but there's so much underground stuff going on right now. There's so many genres compared to, the 60s, for instance. I feel like there's so many more things to listen to, so many things to discover. I discover stuff every single day just on Spotify, and I'm like, there's so much music out right now. How could anyone say it's bad? Maybe mainstream, they think it's bad, but have they looked anywhere else? Because there's a lot of it.
Oh yeah, no, there's always new music to be found, even if it's new to you. Trying to think, I feel like I've recently discovered somebody. Oh yes, I recently discovered the band Shadowy Men on a Shadowy Planet. They've been around since the 80s. They claim they're not surf rock. They have a whole song, I think it's called like "We're Not a Fucking Surf Band." But they got a very surf rock sound, and they're best known for doing the theme song for Kids in the Hall. I don't know if you've watched that show.
I am familiar with that, yeah.
Back in the day. But yeah, they did the theme song for that, and I got into them from seeing ads for Kids on the Hall on old episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000 that I was watching, because someone like recorded the episode when it was broadcast, and they were showing ads for Kids in the Hall, and I'm like, oh, I like that song. So I found it, I looked it up. I listened to their albums while I was, attempting to build a bookcase, and it's nice.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I love finding things like you said, like automatically, like I have so many home videos when I was a kid. Like I remember my family like recorded Popeye with Robin Williams. It was on TV. We recorded it, and I've watched it ever since. But I remember seeing some of the commercials that we caught too, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, what's that commercial about that?" Go on YouTube and then look at I don't know. I love when I find things randomly like that I wasn't supposed to see.
Yeah. Or it's like
just
recesses of your mind, but now you're seeing it as an adult.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always ask these questions, and I added one question for you because I figured this would be a fun one. The question I was going to ask you is if there was any dream role or dream play you always thought about or wanted to be in. Do you have one that you would say just at the top of your head?
Pick one.
I know it's a rough one. I'm sorry. Or 3 or 5.
No, all the roles I really want to play, I need to wait at least 15 to 20 years to play them, just because I look very young despite, my voice being down here, and I carry myself old at the ripe old age of 26. But the one that I can probably reasonably play, and I need to play her before I get too old, like too visibly old, Veronica Sawyer from Heathers the musical.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's.
I don't know why, but I was waiting for you to say I don't know what it is about this character, but I could totally picture you playing Mrs. Lovett, Sweeney Todd.
This is love it. Oh, I love to play her too. She's just so fun and silly, and also Sondheim music is fantastic. One of my
Yeah.
coworkers friends, he loves Sweeney Todd to the point where he like had a Zoom like lecture about it where we all just listened to him talk about Sweeney Todd and like go through
Yeah.
the whole show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just something. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and I still haven't seen all of them or heard all of them, but Into the Woods was my first thing that I saw. And then my sister was a director for that play back in like UMass Dartmouth, or I forget where she went. Sad Dartmouth, I think. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Musical theater is it's just such an art. Like you have to act, you have to be brave, you have to be able to sing, you have to make sure that you're good to go. I always used to have nightmares, and I did a lot of theater in college, and I did some musical theater here and there, but not to the not to the Sondheim extent. But I'd always have a nightmare, even after a show was over. I'd always have a nightmare about having to sing on stage and then having like a sore throat, and not knowing what to do, and I'd wake up in a deep sweat and be like, "Oh my god, that's not real! Thank God."
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. But yeah, no, musical theater is incredible. It's fun. It has evolved so much throughout the decades, and it's continuing to evolve. I think the big trend I've noticed now is that with a lot of contemporary musicals, they're looking for a lot of actor musicians, actors that can play their own instruments. So my time is here. My time.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could totally be in company, because I remember seeing that one, and I was like, everyone in this plays an instrument too. I'm like, this is insanity to me.
I've heard of that production that you're talking about, and yes, even the thing with Company is that the music is kind of boring because it's all like quintessential 70s music with that whole like it's very markedly 70s with all these like major seventh chords, and it's just kind of a boring show in general. But like I would love to play Amy because she gets to sing Getting Married Today, and
Yep.
I
Good luck.
yes, no, I love patter songs. I am a notorious fast talker.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've got a skill set that's just going to waste. Cast me in Company.
It's true. Oh my god, that would be amazing. Yeah, seriously, you need to play that role. But so the questions I normally ask is that people, this one would be something that you probably will change your mind, because everyone would, but just spur of the moment. If you could, not your band, but just you, if you could open for any artist in the history of music, the show would be ultimately you opening, and then this artist or band or whoever is playing after you.
Oh God. It's a good question. Either like Tori Amos or Florence and the Machine.
Nice.
But like I'm not nearly on their level, so opening act would be just great. So either one of them. It has to be like another quirky female artist.
Nice. Awesome. This one's a little bit more annoying and a little bit more hard. We've gotten crazy answers for this one. If you could have dinner with any three people in history, living or dead, doesn't have to be musicians either, it could be anybody. What three do you think you'd choose?
Oh my goodness. You're asking someone who has spent 3 years of her life closely studying early American history for her job.
That's true.
So I think the obvious answer would probably be the figure that I used to portray. Her name is Ruth Story. She was, the wife of someone who participated in the Tea Party, who would go on to be a war surgeon. So obviously, I have so many questions to ask her because I'm like, I'm you. How are you really? So obviously her. Oh God, anyone from history? Probably Fred Rogers, one of the kindest human beings to ever grace this planet. Who else? A third one. God, there's so many people.
I know.
I'm really tempted to say a classical musician like Mozart, but Mozart was such a man-child because he was deprived of a childhood, which led him to writing, really scatological songs in his adulthood. But God, the third person, I'm really not sure. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. It's just,
We've had people take triple time. Just answer the first one, so don't even worry.
yeah, so my personal historical figure, Fred Rogers, mm, probably Katherine Johnson or any one of the women portrayed in Hidden Figures, because I feel like their conversations would be incredibly stimulating, and they just seem like really, really interesting people. They worked at NASA at a time where, being women of color, they were just doubly ostracized. So yeah, those are my three.
Yeah, that's amazing. You had some really good answers. A lot of people, I did a lot of like generic type of answers. Like, I'm not even going to say because then the person's going to be like, "What are you talking about?" If they watch this. But yeah, those are great, and I'm so glad that we got someone on here who's like a big history buff because
I wouldn't
we
say
just
I'm
don't
a
talk.
buff. I
Well,
know.
you seem to know, you do, and your job has to do with that too, which is really freaking cool. So that's really, really awesome. I wish I could do something like that. Like I said, like, in general, just to get like, the last person you had mentioned, that's the most interesting answer I think we've gotten, because you can, rather than shooting the shit with, Led Zeppelin or whatever, it's like, you can really ask them like what you went through. How was that for you? It's like, it's almost incredible to me that like that stuff happened, like,
Yeah, a
and
lot of
it's still happening in a lot of places. It's crazy.
yeah, no, a lot of people seem to forget that history actually happened. These people are real people. The Boston Tea Party was carried out by real average people, shipbuilders and whatnot, and craftsmen and tradesmen and people like us. We're currently living in a historic time right now. Most people, in fact, our entire generation has lived through various historic events like 9/11 and Y2K. We lived through all of that. We lived through the Iraq War, you know, swine flu. We lived through that. And now we're living in, we are living in interesting times, as the Chinese proverb says. And honestly, it's exhausting, but it's it's interesting. I'm constantly thinking about what the history books will say about this chapter in our lives. How will history look at us? What will the future hold? Who will they paint as a villain and who will they paint as a victor? Because it really all depends. I I do surgical mask deliveries for the Boston area mask initiative. They're a group of people that just churn out so many surgical masks for the healthcare workers, and they donate them to hospitals. So I'm wondering, who will be remembered. I'm sure people like them will be remembered. Obviously, the essential workers are going to be remembered. It's just it's very interesting and crazy to think about, living in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like the history books that we have now, I mean, there's a lot of things we can say, hey, who wrote that?
Ooh,
And I
that's a
wonder,
whole
like you
other
said,
conversation.
yeah, oh no, for sure. And like you made a good point though. Like I wonder how they're gonna look at that and say, like you said, like the hero and the villain type thing. And we're still not out of this yet. I can't believe how many things we've had to like rediscover about ourselves, especially like, and I'm still furloughed. I will be till the end of June unless it goes past that. But the first time I heard about it, I was, selfishly excited to not be working, but obviously I wanted people to be safe. But now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, even the most menial task is like, do I have to do that? And I'm like, am I going to be ready to go back to work? Because I'm definitely not right now.
Yeah.
So it's weird and stuff. I've been outside maybe 6 or 7 times, not even lying, since I've been furloughed since like the beginning of April. And when I do go outside, it's like, oh man, I forgot what it was like out here. It's scary to think that like, yeah, I'm half joking, but the other half's not joking.
Yeah,
So
no, who knows? Maybe there's going to be historical reenactors reenacting the coronavirus pandemic of 2020 245 years from now, or they're going to be reenacting, the 2016 election 300 years from now.
Right.
And it's wild to think about.
Yeah, it goes along with me being like, I think this joke's been said many times, but being like 85 years old and then, being somebody playing like a rap song from like 1997. And I'm like, I was, 10 when that came out. And like, what? Like, it seems so strange now.
Nana, can you sing me a lullaby? I sure can, sweetheart. To the window, to the wall. I used to dance to that in middle school.
That's so weird. So, you mentioned AIM. He's the writer is sending you guys songs. Do you guys have plans to make an album when you are back together?
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously we're still keeping in contact with each other, but in terms like concrete plans of an album, maybe. Who knows what the future is gonna hold? Like I said, we don't know when we're gonna be able to come back together and play in the same room. It's entirely uncertain, but our fearless leader, Josh Larrabee, is always sending, new ideas our way.
Right. Awesome. Well, if it does happen, I can't wait to hear it. And if you guys go out and play live, I can't wait to come see you.
Oh yeah, no, you will definitely hear about it if we are playing live or if we have a new album. Just, we're on Facebook, so give us a like on Facebook and
absolutely,
you'll definitely hear some things.
Cool. Well, Erica, thank you so much for coming on here. You're awesome. You're very talented, and we hope to, like I said, see you live soon. And keep up everything you're doing because you are a cool person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here, and you two are very gracious hosts. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming on, and let us know that first live performance, man. I wonder who the first band's gonna be that's gonna to break out of the corona. I wonder who the first performance will be. I wonder.
It's gonna be wild.
But let us know. Keep the loop. And again, thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time. Okay.
Sure. See you later. Thank you. Thank you again so much.
Absolutely. No problem. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Conspiracy, it's the only crutch that you have on me. The hog in the house with all his rats.